Thank you, Whip. When Republicans ran to get the House majority, we actually made a commitment to America. We talked about the things that we would do if the people across this country gave us this opportunity to lead and to govern. And we've been hard at work delivering on those promises. Right out the box, we started tackling things like crime. Everybody knows that crime all around the country is running rampant. And there's no place more evident than that than here in our nation's capital. And so I want to credit Andrew Clyde because as a congressman from Georgia, he saw a problem here in D.C. that was not being addressed. And under the United States Constitution, we actually have a duty to govern parts of the District of Columbia. Hasn't happened in 30 years where the United States Congress has stepped in, but it got so out of control that we said, let's take action. And so Andrew Clyde saw crime getting out of control, saw the council's action, where they literally got rid of mandatory minimums for violent criminals. So somebody that carjacks you at gunpoint, after being convicted, can walk scot-free without a day in prison. And so many other violent crimes where they literally took 15-year mandatory minimums and dropped them down to 0. And the criminals are paying attention to this. Crime's out of control in D.C. And so we brought a bill to the floor to get rid of that ordinance, to restore the mandatory minimums, to say if you're going to be a carjacker or a violent criminal, you ought to serve time in jail if you get convicted of that crime. Now, when we filed that bill, I think some in the press actually called it partisan. The president said he opposed it. But we knew we were fighting for those victims who shouldn't be victims of crime. In fact, the D.C. police chief just recently said that for every homicide in D.C., the person who committed the homicide committed 11 other crimes. If you stop the criminal before they kill somebody, think of how many other people you stop from being a victim of crime. Not to mention the lives that you'll save. The carjacker of today may be the person who kills someone tomorrow if you let him out of jail. And so by putting hardened criminals in jail, you're going to prevent crimes in the future. You're going to save lives in the future. And so I'm glad that the Senate is going to take that bill up and pass it this week onto the president so it can get signed into law. And for those 173 Democrats who voted against it, who sided with the carjackers, to paraphrase President Biden, they're going to have to answer why they're soft on crime. But people across America are fed up with those who are standing with the criminals, who want to defund the police, who have this attitude that a criminal should be let out of jail free to commit more crimes. Look at the city of Chicago. They just threw out their mayor because crime is out of control. People are fed up with it. And so at least this Congress, under this Republican majority, is taking action to defend people, to actually stand up against criminals. And so that bill will become law. There's other bills that could become law as well. We passed a bill to stop illegals from voting in D.C. The same week, by the way, that we brought up the D.C. crime bill. President Biden also objected to that bill. Maybe he'll reverse course again, because today in D.C., somebody who is a Russian citizen working at the embassy in Russia can vote in D.C. elections. A CCP member working at the Chinese embassy can vote in D.C. elections. That shouldn't be the case. And there's a bill over in the Senate that hopefully passes to address that. Andy Barr's bill just went to President Biden's desk. We just passed that bill days ago here in the House, and it's already passed the Senate and is going to Joe Biden, that stands up for blue-collar workers who want to have the ability to retire and have a good income. And so they want to invest their retirement savings in accounts that are going to hopefully yield the most gain. And yet through ESG policies that were pushed by the Biden administration because some billionaire elitists want to impose their will over blue-collar workers, those workers are actually getting a lower rate of return so that some billionaire elitist can have the desires that they want out of Washington. So President Biden's going to have to make a decision on that bill that now will go to his desk. Do you side with the billionaire elitists or the blue-collar workers who deserve the highest rate of return on their retirement income? That bill's on the president's desk as well. I hope he signs it too. And we're bringing other bills this week. You saw the Senate just last week passed a bill to declassify a lot of the information on the origins of COVID. We're going to pass that bill this Friday. and hopefully get more facts out. People deserve to know the truth about what happened in that Wuhan lab. It's been shielded in secrecy for too long. There's a lot of information that's classified that shouldn't even be classified. The public should already know it. When we pass this bill to the president's desk, hopefully he signs it so that we can find that out as well. And on a final note, as we're continuing to move forward on our commitment to America, I want to applaud Julia Letlow and the Education Committee because having a Parents' Bill of Rights was one of those key planks in our commitment to America, and H.R. 5 will actually be passed to the floor, and then we'll vote on it when we return in 2 weeks. And then, of course, the week after that, we'll have a big energy package to show the country how we can be energy independent again and lower costs for those hardworking families who are struggling, who are paying too much for electricity costs, for gasoline at the pump because of President Biden's anti-American energy policy. We'll show the country how to fix that as well. With that, we'll take some questions.